Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. So in this video I want to, let's say, revisit this product. I have reviewed a lot of, let's say, plug and play devices up to the point I'm more thinking like I need to stop it because I am done with it. There are so many like crappy stuff out there. But this particular one is maybe just one of my favorite ones, but also like one of the best ones you can pick up when it comes to play some 16-bit. Like the controller, it's actually like able to play 16-bit, Mega Drive, Genesis games, but this thing has so much more to offer. Just that's the reason I wanted to show you, like, and also doing quick revisiting and saying this is one of my favorite ones. So first of all, like, we do have reviewed a lot of like Sega clone systems, but this particular one is pretty damn cool. Of course, the toilet member manual, like always. Like, it doesn't explain anything, or most of the time, like, adapter in, SD card slot, you know, stuff that I'm more like, yep, we can figure that out. But it is more the question, like, what are we going to get with the overall quality? And that is where I really loved it. So the first thing I liked are the controllers. So the nub-sub controllers, it had a lot of potential. So it comes with wireless controllers. Take consideration if they are basically being broken or you drop them and they break, you have a problem because there is no way or basically like getting new ones. You cannot really plug in new controllers. So that's a little bit of a bummer with these cheap devices. But what I like about it are like the controls. They feel very nice. They're almost getting to the point, the Sega quality, like we have seen not many times before. We do have like a very nice press of the buttons. The membranes they're using, everything is just absolutely very nice, and thumbs up. But the most interesting thing, this isn't like a plug and play device. So also they are like dirty cheap to buy. And again, yeah, of course that happens, crap. Like I mentioned before, I have seen so many of these freaking plug and play devices, but this one is actually pretty damn good. The same goes for the emulation performance. We'd only have like a micro USB needed for giving this thing some juice, so you can grab it from your television or a separate 5-volt adapter. So here we do have like the memory card, so there's not even like any information on it, so that's what they're doing. I must say that what is kinda, like, say, troubling with these things, if they're using really cheap quality, you need to make a backup. Because if this thing breaks, you have no information on it and you cannot do anything. Sometimes even the firmware is on the SD card. But another thing I really like about it, that it is so small. Look at this, like super tiny. Like compared with the controller, it's tiny. And you can just plug it in, leave it on your TV. If you're going on vacation, you plug it in and you just have some awesome games to play. But let's plug it in and let's see what we're going to get. Alright, so we can add games to the stick itself. I just wanted to show you briefly here in this video. So you're going to get different folders. Also, when we're going to check the menu, it basically like shows exactly the same amount of different platforms that you can add your games to. It even has support for Sega Master System, or basically there are like some options to boot up the files, but they are placed in ROM. So I'm curious, maybe later on we can see if we can add some more kind of games. What is this stick capable of? Is it the same stick that they're going to resell, or is it just only a couple of emulators on this? Nevertheless, you can add games, just wanted to show you. Just plug and play and drag and drop. Okay, so let's plug out my HDMI cable. And what I find always annoying about these dongles normally, that we can't plug it in. But it seems to be like they fixed this issue. So we can just plug it in. But if it's deep enough, that was we're going to find out later on. Otherwise we need to use an extender. Yeah, it's not very thick, but the problem is with this particular monitor, they were having like an in-depth HDMI connection. And sometimes these things are so thick that it will cover up an other HDMI port. So in overall, these things are not superb. But how do you connect it? Very simple. We'll plug in here the service port, but it will give me 5 volts that we're going to need for the dongle. We're going to plug in the micro USB over here. And the first attempt will be like plugging it straight into the television. Let's see if it's deep enough and if it's going to work like this. So the only thing that I need to do now is plug in my cable of the monitor, and that's it. Like, that's the only thing that we need to do. Power on the system. If everything has been set to HDMI, it will automatically boot up the dongle itself, and that's it. And there is nothing, so that means it doesn't connect because of the in-depth HDMI port. I need to get myself the freaking extension cable. Alright, let's power it off. And let's pull it out. So I did such a bummer, but there's more particular problem with my monitor over here. But just wanted to show you that not everything goes like planned. So let's plug in the extender. Yeah, what's the use of this thing if we can't plug it in? But okay, let's power it on again and let's see if this thing works. Okay guys, so it has been booted up, so that works now. And yeah, if you don't have an in-depth HDMI port, it will work just fine for you. But when booting up, this is what we're going to get. We're going to get a fancy menu, and I'm curious what kind of stuff we're going to find on this and how it's actually going to emulate. Because that emulation problem, I have seen it before with cheap devices like this. Okay guys, so let's take a close look at this product and the menu, because this menu has a lot of interesting things. I really like this Android lookalike. It has nothing to do with 16-bit whatsoever. But when you're booting up, let's say, the shooting games, then we're going to get all the shooting games. And if they did a good job when it comes to categorizing this, I don't know, to be honest. It's always like the question. But they got a very nice thumbnail. Let's choose fighting. It seems to be like they added a lot of fighting games. I don't know if Beavis and Butthead is a fighting game actually. But it's quite interesting to see how everything works. Here we can go into the folder itself. So basically you can boot up a game. So when it comes to the way how they added all of these games to a certain category, it looks kind of nice. Especially when it comes to the thumbnail, stuff like that. But there was another thing I wanted to show you, which is quite interesting. But when pressing select and start in the game, we're going to get finally the option that I've been waiting for. So the quick load, quick save, we have seen it before. We're even going to get 5 slots for each game. So that's interesting. But here we're going to even have the option to have a full screen wide. And then we're going to get scaling up. In other words, it's 4:3 aspect ratio. So then we're even having the options to change out the region if you're having like different files on it. So this thing basically has everything that I always like wished for, because beginning of the review session with all this plug and play, we always was missing, even with the game system, the scale option, and we didn't have stuff like this. So they're trying to improve it. It's quite fascinating to see. This sounds good, this sounds good. So fun fact, the first time I booted it up, it went completely turbo mode. So what we need to do, I want to show you what I mean with that. So the region switch does work. So it has been set to PAL, seems to be. Let's put it on NTSC. See, nothing works anymore. So you just need to reboot the game again. And that we're going to do. Let's reboot again. So that was an issue what I had with multi-game cards back in the day. And the reason is like, we don't have the region on the right settings in combination with the file that you're basically using. But you can fix it. Where we go is basically going to the system settings and putting it back on the region that it's supposed to be. Ow. And I can say like this D-pad works perfectly. Need to get used to it, so it's more like a personal handicap. Also, the music itself sounds great. And the reason I'm saying like I can dream this soundtrack. I listen to this even in my freaking car. Yep, perfectly. I'm getting my ass kicked again. Absolutely. And the fun fact is like, it also recognizes the 6-button controller layout, so also that works fine. Alright guys, so let's do a quick teardown when it comes to the device. So the overall performance, I am very surprised with this. So the only thing I can do, there are no screws whatsoever. Let's get my toolkit. Let's get myself a tiny screwdriver so I can pry the plastics off. So that's the thing that only thing we can do at this moment. and just like finding a way to click it open, because that's the way how it needs to go. Normally I will have a prior tool, but the prior tool I'm using at the moment is too big for this. So this is the only thing that we're going to get, and it's a quite interesting thing. So over here we're going to get the communication for the wireless controllers. Ah man, they send off the information of the chip, so I have no idea like what they're using. But I find it just super fascinating. Stuff like this fascinates me, like how tiny the technology is becoming and like what you can do with it. Wireless connectivity for the controllers. Yeah, I don't know what kind of chip, but yeah, it don't need to be very powerful for 16-bit, but it runs kind of a weird Android lookalike and the operating system. Though it says here U-Box 001 version 6, so there is not a lot of information on this. So let's put this back together. Then there is not any cooling. No. I'm just going to be honest, sometimes I feel quite depressed when it comes to reviewing these things, because I waste so much money on it. But I know I just wanted to show you what are you going to get, so you don't need to do this. But this is actually one of those products that makes me really happy and exciting again about reviewing stuff from China. And this is like a pretty damn cool device. You just plug it in and you're going to have a lot of fun. But is it worth it? That is something you need to decide. I want to thank you for watching. Consider subscribing, hit that little bell, become a Wicked family, and it will be great to see you in the next video.